Today's 3-hour testimony by former Trump campaign press secretary Hope Hicks appeared at times to be useful, sort of, maybe, for both the defense and the prosecution. When asked today about Trump's reaction to the release of the Access Hollywood tape, Hicks seemed to buttress Trump's case by testifying that he was concerned about how it would be viewed by his wife, Melania. That's part of the defense's argument. Trump was killing these damaging stories about him, not to help his campaign, but because he was concerned about his family finding out. But Hicks also cast doubt on the defense's argument that Michael Cohen made the hush money payments to Stormy Daniels out of the kindness of Cohen's heart. Hicks told the court today, "I didn't know Michael to be an especially charitable person or selfless person." Hicks also recounted a conversation she had with Trump as president when the Stormy Daniels scandal eventually surfaced in 2018, saying, "I think Mr. Trump's opinion was it was better to be dealing with it in 2018 than it would have been to have had that story come out before the 2016 election." Joining me now are Jeremy Saland, former assistant district attorney in the Manhattan DA's office, trial division, and Suzanne Craig, New York Times investigative reporter focused on the finances and taxes of Donald Trump. What a beat. Thank you both for being here today. I got to ask, and let me go to you first on this, Jeremy. The idea that Trump was trying to cover up these stories to protect Melania or his family, didn't want the papers delivered to his family doorstep lest she read about his affairs with other women. That was somewhat established by Hicks's testimony. But she also was pretty clear that everything that was done in this period was through the lens of the campaign, that this was decidedly a move that would benefit Trump's candidacy. Does it matter if he also had personal reasons for doing it?
Well, the court can't take judicial notice that he's had multiple affairs before, and his wife knew that walking into the marriage. But they're not mutually exclusive. You could genuinely care about your spouse or your children and want to protect them, but you can also want to protect the campaign and make sure you get elected as best you can. So I think it really doesn't hold much water. Sure, you can want to be careful about your family and love your family, but that's not what this is about.
But as long as you're doing it for expressly political or campaign purposes, it's still a violation.
Absolutely. This is not like you have a defense, self-defense claim here. You did it for this reason, but you can also do it for that reason. They're not mutually exclusive.
What's your top line on Hicks's testimony today, Suzanne?
I thought the end was really the end of the government's examination was very powerful when she put us in the room with that conversation she had with Donald Trump when he was president about the payment. First of all, according to her testimony, it establishes he knew about the payment,
right,
which is very important because he's been saying it was for legal fees. He's now acknowledging the $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels as hush money, according to the testimony today. I thought that was really powerful. And then also, he talks about how we'll better come out now than in 2016.
Right, the piece that we just read.
Right. I think both of those were very important. And I also thought she was an effective witness because she wasn't. We've seen a lot of scoundrels this week come through the court, and we will see more. But she's not that. She was a trusted advisor, and I think you don't know why she broke down crying. There was maybe a lot of reasons that went into that, but it happened right after that testimony that was so powerful. And then she transitions again right into her biography about him.
How close she was.
And how close she was. And I think I don't think she was overcome with emotion. And it just showed to the jury how just conflicted she was, but how close they were. And I think that just made her a very credible witness. I'm sure the jury, it wasn't lost on anybody in the courtroom.
I would assume that is mana for the prosecution, right? This makes her look like a trusted an advisor who is not out there to get Donald Trump and is in the line with David Pecker, who's out on the stand saying, right, we're still good friends, and does so, and basically makes the prosecution's case for them while saying he's still friends with Donald Trump.
Absolutely. And keep in mind, she's there under subpoena. She's not there because she wants to be there. And she has a real relationship with this man. Forget what anyone sees on the outside, whether there was a caring, tender, close, professional, personal relationship. There was something really real and substantive there. So she's there telling her story, very credible, empathetic. And when you're crying, not that I tell my witnesses to specifically cry.
But you sort of do.
Sometimes you hint, like, let your emotions come out. It's okay. We all have emotions. That absolutely plays well, true or not, with a jury. either side.
I thought the other important thing about Hope Hicks was she said she was paying for her own counsel.
Right.
We've seen a lot of witnesses come in. The Trump Organization is paying for their legal fees. She came in on her own with her own lawyers.
And spoke with an independent voice, quite obviously.
It felt.
You talk, because you mentioned the word scoundrel, so I'm going to go right to Michael Cohen, because when you say the word scoundrel, I feel like a little Michael Cohen alarm goes off. There were various efforts made to impugn Cohen's character, or at least his role in the campaign. Hicks establishes that Michael Cohen is not a charitable individual, right? That he's not necessarily taking out a home equity loan and paying off Stormy Daniels because he's a good guy. This is the exchange. This is from Emil Bovey, the defense. Mr. Cohen wasn't a part of the campaign, right? No. Sorry, this is about Mr. Cohen's role in the campaign. Ms. Hicks, no, he would try and insert himself at certain moments, but he wasn't supposed to be on the campaign in any official capacity. Mr. Bovey, he went rogue at times, fair to say? Hicks, yes. I used to say that he liked to call himself a fixer or Mr. Fix-It, and it was only because he first broke it. This is, the second part of it, which is he is not a charitable person, which would seem to be buttress the prosecution's argument, but he is also not part of the campaign. Does that undermine the prosecution's argument? Not that much, because you do not have to have a paid role or be an actual advisor to be involved in a campaign. There's a long-standing relationship between the parties. He's his attorney, meaning he's Trump's attorney. So there's an incentive for him to help the president, because that incentive is the president wanted him to help, and there may be an end game for him, but he's not giving up that kind of dollars. I don't know how much he earns a year, but post-tax dollars of $130,000 to help the former president, or pardon me, to help Trump at the time to get elected. So I think it's a silly, non-common sense argument. I don't think it holds water, as I said before. It's more of a colander here. It just doesn't work. What did you think of? I mean, a lot of this is they're building a kind of house for Michael Cohen to walk into, right, with strong rafters. Right. Do you feel like, I mean, you've been at this hearing, Sue. It feels like there's been enough testimony that, you know, whatever Michael Cohen says can exist on its own, and there's still a pretty rock-solid case the prosecution's made. Right. I want to step back when I answer that question, because I think sometimes we're like, what's going on here? What's this trial about? It is about, first of all, a conspiracy, and then the falsification of business records. So right now we're in the conspiracy phase, and that we're building that conspiracy, that there was a cover-up. And we've seen a lot of witnesses come forward, and we're moving. I think today we got a little sliver of it when we talked about the payment and Donald Trump knew about it. We're going to be moving into the falsification of business records. So I think what they're doing is exactly what you said. They're trying to have a number of witnesses that will support what Michael Cohen is saying. And I have to say, I have been there every day. The most powerful witness so far, I believe, Hope Hicks was very powerful, but David Pecker. He was talking to Trump at every turn of this, and it was very powerful. He put him right in the center of it. They had an agreement to embellish stories that were bad about Donald Trump's rivals. Ben Carson, Ted Cruz. That story deserved a Pulitzer, we heard today in court, but also the catch and kill scheme. And David Pecker knew about the cover-up. He was in the middle of arranging those deals with the women, and all of that is so important because he was aware of it and testified to it. You have a real principal whose reputation has not been impugned, giving up the goods. It's buttressed by Trump world insiders. I got to ask you, because the prosecution has lined up so much data, if you will, in their favor. Do you think there is any chance Trump takes a stand? At this point, I would think that he would not take the stand. And I don't think it's, despite the fact that the prosecution is doing well, and I think they're getting doubles, triples, singles, even home runs here and there, there's still a big lift ahead. It's still a big lift. This is not just a misdemeanor, and a misdemeanor would be a loss here. And in fact, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, I wouldn't even think the prosecution would want the jury to consider a lesser included misdemeanor. It's really all or nothing. We're getting ahead of ourselves here, but you know, is there that intent to commit another crime? What is that other crime? And you have to, as you said before, what is that conspiracy to commit that other crime in terms of the election? That's not so easy. I'm falsifying records, I'm hiding things, I'm doing hush money. That's not the crime. That's not the crime. So there's still a lot more to go, but those pieces are coming into play, absolutely. And Hope Hicks and David Pecker are definitely closer to the home runs. Well, day 11, my friends. Sue Craig, burning that midnight oil. Jeremy Slan, Sue Craig, it's great to see you guys. Thanks for your time this Friday night.